Hey folks, it's Rob from Rob's Movie Collection, and for the Super Inc. Movie Club, this month of June we're going to do The Breakfast Club. I'm a little bit late to it, halfway through the month, but want to get this in there. The Breakfast Club from 1985, directed by John Hughes, and starring, let me take a breath here, Molly Ringwald, Ali Sheedy, Anthony Michael Hall, Judd Nelson, and Emilio Estevez. Now, in 1985, during the 80s, 1985 and all that, John Hughes was really big filmmaker. He did several of these movies, teen movies they call them, but they're not really supposed to be just for teens. But let's face it, that was the target audience. 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink, that sort of thing. Of course, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. But The Breakfast Club was, of course, targeted to the younger crowd. And in 1985, I was part of that younger crowd. I saw it when it came out. We all went to see it because it was very popular in a movie. And I've seen bits of it on and off since then, but I haven't really actually sat and watched the whole movie until I just did for this video. So it's funny, when I first saw this movie, I remember everybody was saying, it's so good and it's so well acted, and it's one of those rare movies, well, not rare, but certainly rare by today's standards, where people just pretty much talk in the movie. And it's not an action flick or anything. But everybody was saying that, whoever you are, you can relate to at least one of these characters. So I went in there and I sat down and watched it, and I found that I really couldn't relate to any of them. Maybe the closest one that I could relate to was Anthony Michael Hall's character, this guy right here. What was his name? Oh my God, I just saw the movie and I can't remember his name. Jeez. What the heck's wrong with me? Oh yeah, I remember. I'm 51. Jeez. But back in 1985, I was a mere lad of 19, so I had a better memory back then, so I'm sure I could remember it back then. But anyway, I found that I could kind of relate to him because he was a little bit nerdy and kind of geeky, and that was kind of me. But I wasn't a brain or anything. I wasn't a good student. Definitely not a good student. And what I really found, that the reason I couldn't relate to most of the characters was because, everybody hated their parents. I hated them. Now, I went through my rebellious period as a teenager. I was moody and I didn't want to be around my parents and all. And, we all go through that. I think, in a way, in life, you kind of have to go through that period when you're a teenager. It's part of life. But I certainly never hated my parents, or resented them. I still don't hate them. So, but the characters in this film just really, you had different extremes, of course. Judd Nelson really hated his parents and his father, and with good reason. And the others were like, I'm ignored and I'm this and that. So I guess at the time I found them a bit whiny. So in watching it again now, I thought, maybe now with, some years behind me, I'll have kind of a different reaction. And it's kind of a similar reaction. Now, it's a good movie. I own it, and it's definitely an iconic movie from the 80s and one of John Hughes' best. And the acting is fantastic, and they're very interesting characters. So it's not like it's a bad movie. It's just in terms of I can't really watch it and go, geez, I really feel for them. I really can relate to what they've gone through. Some people can, but I can't really. So I just enjoy it as a movie, and good acting and good characters. It's funny, in watching it this time, of course, I forgot to mention one of the other cast members, very important, is Paul Gleason, who plays Assistant Principal Vernon. He's very important. He's the guy that, is watching over them. By the way, if I didn't mention, if you haven't seen this film, it's about these kids who are in detention on a Saturday for doing different things, and throughout the course of the movie you find out why they're in there, and you discover more about them. But Paul Gleason's character is the one that has to watch over him, and he's very strict and mean, and he's the guy that does this to them a lot. If you've seen the movie, you'll know what this is. But he's very funny, and that's one thing that definitely has changed for me, because even as a teenager, as a 19-year-old, even though I wasn't, resentful or anything like that, yeah, I saw his character and thought, well, what a tool, I mean, geez, he's such a jerk and all that stuff. And now here I am, older, and I find myself relating to his character more than to the kids. And not just because I'm older now. It's just that he has a scene where he's talking to the janitor, and at one point he's saying, these kids betrayed me, they changed, and like, I'm watching this thinking, yeah, I can kind of relate to this a little bit, I mean, I may not have kids, but yeah, I feel like, the younger generation is like, oh my God, what's going on here and what happened, and so yeah, I can kind of relate to him and almost feel bad for him, and understand why he is the way he is. And of course, all these kids are now my age as well, or older, in fact. So it's funny to in the documentaries you see the interviews, you see what they look like now. But so yeah, I think that's interesting. Having actually gone to this film back when I was the target audience, and now I'm no longer the target audience for movies or TV or any kind of media, and I'm kind of lost a little bit at times. Those of you who have watched my channel probably have noticed that I talk a lot about older movies, not exclusively, but I do tend to have a lot of that sort of thing in my collection, because I'm not as connected with the new stuff as I used to be, and that's because media has always targeted the young crowd, and that's what this film did as well. And so, I was the young crowd then, but now I'm not, of course, being 51, because I didn't mention that, and feeling it sometimes. But anyway, so. Is this a good film? Of course it's a good film. It's a great film. It's one of his best. I definitely recommend it. If anything, it's a great character study of these characters being all together, and what they how they end up at the end of the day, and so it's really good. It may not be my favorite John Hughes film. That goes more towards Ferris Bueller and Weird Science and Planes, Trains, and Automobile and those types. But it's definitely one of his best, and definitely worth having. Definitely took me back to the 80s. It's great to see, these kids in a way. I can kind of relate to it in a way, in that I remember, the fashions and all that. So there's a scene where they're all dancing, and Molly Ringwald's doing this jerky dance that we used to do in the 80s. I just started laughing when I saw that, and at the same time realized, why were we moving like that? What the hell was wrong with us? So, but every once in a while I break out that little dance, which you will never see on my YouTube channel. So, but anyway, so yeah, check it out if you haven't seen The Breakfast Club. It's a great movie. Check it out if you haven't seen it. Say that enough. And yeah, till the next Super Inc. Movie Club movie next month. All right, keep watching those movies. Bye.